Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, booger sugar. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we have for you guys. And if you enjoy your time here with us, leave us a like, share us around, and of course, comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. So usually this would be another one of our regularly scheduled weekly episodes where we talk about, some movie items, trailers, and give you guys our thoughts on recent stuff that, we've seen, whether it's on streaming, whether it's in theaters, TV shows, you name it. But given that it is the holiday season and we are feeling very jolly, we decided to spice things up a bit and give you guys not one, but two deep dives episodes this month. Today, while the movie we are covering is not really about Christmas or really has anything to do with Christmas, next week's episode will be more festive, I promise. However, it is a movie celebrating its 10-year anniversary this month and has become one of the more iconic movies since its release, The Wolf of Wall Street. But before we get to that, Walker, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's nuts. Um,
It's freaking
it's,
insane.
it's like just
I feel like I just saw it in theaters. We'll get to it. We'll cover more of it. But yeah, it's crazy.
it's been good, man. Things have been good. Took some time off work recently this last week to try to get some stuff done. It doesn't feel relaxing at all though. It feels like I've been running around the entire time. I had a flat tire earlier. Had to change it. I
That's the
drive a
freaking worst, man. Do you have to put
yeah
on the donut?
yeah. I played golf yesterday morning and didn't play well. Kind of hurt my back again a little bit and just pushed it too quickly and was sore. And then Jess and I went around Christmas shopping throughout the day, and I had an appointment at the bank later in the afternoon, and I was parallel. I didn't even hit the curb hard. I parallel parked. I drive a Toyota Tundra, a
Yeah.
large truck, and my tires are about 2 months old, and I got like the biggest tires I've ever gotten just because I was like, I mean, the truck's 15, 16 years old. I was like, the tires will outlive the truck at this point, and got like pretty big tires. They look like they could climb out of the Grand Canyon, and apparently they can't handle downtown Wilmington curbs because I didn't even hit it hard. I scrubbed it. Like I did it on purpose. I was parallel parked in like the front spot, and like so in front of me was
So
just
you
like
thought you were just like kissing the curb and you ended
yeah,
up like straight up
yeah,
making
just
out with the curb.
yeah, the truck's huge and downtown streets are small, so I was like smushed up
Yeah.
against the curb. And then when I got out, I was in the front spot on that row, so the curb in front of me like angled towards the street. So like
Yeah.
I just had to like kind of go over the curb. I did it on purpose. I drove a Tundra, and immediately the truck was like pulling really hard to the right. People were freaking out, and it had like ripped a huge hole in it. And then I just spent I had my good clothes on and just spent the next hour changing the tire. I hated it.
That sounds miserable, man. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
So,
I've been there. The last time I blew a tire was a few days after Christmas, and Carly and I got up like early in the morning to go to Ohio. We drove from North Carolina to Ohio. I think this was 2016,
mm,
and we were wearing our Christmas PJs that we got each other. For me, it was a Star Wars shirt and sweatpants that had Christmas stormtroopers on them. And the reason I'm saying what I'm wearing is because about bumfuck West Virginia, we ended up popping a tire and I had to pull over and it was freezing freaking cold outside and I'm wearing this outfit, and I had to change a tire and had to get back on the highway with one of those, donuts. You can't go, but I think it's 50 miles or something like that
mm,
on there. You can only go up to like 55 miles an hour or something like that.
yeah.
and I had to drive to, I think it was Ripley, West Virginia, where we found a Firestone place, and they put a tire on for me. And it
Wow.
was pretty cheap. It wasn't that expensive. Thank you to those guys. But yeah, I just remember being so frustrated when that happened, especially when you're out in
It
the middle of nowhere like that.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's really frustrating. I mean, I this just kind of like just dampened my day. I was
Yeah,
annoyed by it. I was dirty. I was wearing clothes that were I didn't want to get dirty. The tires are huge and heavy on this truck, and I don't have like a higher quality jack on me than comes with it. So like the jack on there will barely get the truck up. It's just a piece of junk.
yeah,
It was just tiring. My back hurt. Jess was very helpful. She was there. I don't know. Just kind of was better ways to spend a day off.
that
How was your
sucks,
weekend?
man. Uh, not bad, not bad. You said your back was hurting. I have what I think is the most royally messed up situation in terms of physically that I've felt in a long time. I have what feels like a pinched nerve in my neck, squatter's elbow, and bicep tendonitis.
God. Squatter's
Uh,
elbow from having to put your hands behind your head.
yeah, and having to like dig your arms back. Because I like to, whenever I squat, I go thumb length on the bar. I keep my arms in instead of going far out because it helps me engage my back more and helps me stay upright, keeps my chest up, and actually helps me stay flat footed and helps my squat feel a lot better. I'm able to get more depth with it. I've always liked squatting that way. But I guess, squatter's elbow is kicking in because my arms are really close. Not, and I need to work on my mobility, I guess. Bicep tendonitis, I'm probably just overworking it. Need to cut down on the volume on some things. I think how I got my pinched nerve in my back or in my neck is I was squatting. I was squatting with somebody who had the bar or the safety bars a little higher than I normally put them or normally where you rack it. And I had to like bounce it up to get it in because I'm not a tall guy. I'm like 5'10, barely.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to like bounce it in. And I think it just created an impingement of some sort. So I'm in quite a bit of pain. I've been using a lot of icy hot and a lot of Advil, uh, but it's starting to get better. I'm starting to feel a little bit better as the day. I woke up this morning; it was really bad, but as the day has gone on, I've been stretching it. I've been doing some mobility work throughout, doing some work around the house, just kind of getting it loose. Took a Epsom salt bath. Epsom salt, not Epsom salt. It's Epsom salt bath,
Mm.
and it made me feel a lot better. But I am going to have to take off this week from the gym, which is annoying because I was just starting to hit a stride. But better safe than sorry. Let the body heal up, let it rest up, and then hit it hard the next week. Or,
New Year's.
yeah, take it back in. But I probably won't wait for New Year's, man. I gotta go to the gym. I'm addicted.
Hmm.
The diet will start with New Year's.
Gotcha.
Yeah, quite a bit of pain.
Well,
But
that sucks.
yeah,
Hope you feel
but
better.
thank you. Thank you. But listen, I think the thing that'll make us both feel better about our day is talking about a movie that we both really love. And I think we should just go ahead and dive right into this one because I'm sure we have a lot to add about The Wolf of Wall Street, a film that is once again celebrating its 10-year anniversary on Christmas Day. This movie came out on Christmas Day in 2013. It's directed by the great Martin Scorsese and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, Margot Robbie, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right. A lot of lawbreakers. Kyle Chandler, Rob Reiner, Jean Favreau, and Jean Dejournaux or Du Jardin. Du Jardin. There we go. I don't
Mhm.
know where I got an O from. If you aren't familiar with The Wolf of Wall Street, the plot synopsis reads like such. According to Google, in 1987, Jordan Belfort takes an entry level job at Wall Street brokerage firm. By the early 90s, while still in his 20s, Belfort found his own firm, Stratton Oakmont, together with his trusted lieutenant and a merry band of brokers. Belfort makes a huge fortune by defrauding wealthy investors out of millions. However, while Belfort and his cronies partake in a hedonistic brew of sex, drugs, and thrills, the SEC and the FBI close in on his empire of excess. You know, this is one of those movies that, while being very successful critically and financially, it wasn't this like gigantic mega grossing movie. It earned, I think, slightly north of 400 million, 406 million, making it the 17th highest grossing film of 2013 on a budget of I think around 100 million. But this is a movie that, the way in which people discuss it and the way in which people talk about it, it feels like everyone has seen it, and it should have been this Oppenheimer type of hit. Oppenheimer, I think, is hanging around the $950 million mark, so almost $1 billion.
Hmm.
As the quote movie guy in my circles, this is one of those movies that often gets brought up as people's favorites. It's had such an incredibly long shelf life in the zeitgeist for many reasons. It introduced us to the incredible Margot Robbie. It is the movie that, in my opinion, led to Leo finally winning his Oscar, even if he didn't win it for this. It was the outrage that he didn't win that caused him to eventually win. It showed Jonah Hill's performance in Moneyball was no fluke and would become Martin Scorsese's highest grossing film ever, pretty sure to this day. So, Walker, why do you think this movie had such a, and still has such a shelf life that it's had? And when was the first time you saw it? And of course, how does it compare to how you feel about it now?
So I saw it in theaters in 2013, twice, and I was 23 at the time.
It's a
It
great
was
age,
instant.
Jordan year.
Yeah, and it was also a great age to see this movie. I mean, I know it's very popular from like college age kids at that time. I'm a little older than that, but I was a different person at that point than I am now. I was a little more crazy, a little more wild. My ambitions were a little different than they are today. Um, Instantly my favorite movie when I saw it. Instantly,
Like ever?
yeah. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, "This is my favorite movie I've ever seen. This is the best movie I've ever seen." I thought it was loved it, and it stayed my favorite movie for a long time. I mean, so I'm a different person today. I mean, that was 10 years ago, obviously, and I don't I don't I don't watch it with the same eyes anymore. Kind of, I have a little bit of different perspective on it while I'm watching it now, and I expected it to not hold up as well for me. I haven't seen it in a couple years at this point, but I expected it not to age as well as I thought. I expected it to. I don't know. It can kind of get. It's so well liked, and like you mentioned, the shelf life is so good that it can almost. It's one of those movies that becomes like, oh god, The Wolf of Wall Street. Like roll your eyes at it when people like it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I hear that a lot in like different critic circles, and so I was kind of wondering if I would have that a similar kind of reaction after not seeing it for a couple years. Didn't at all. I think it's fantastic. It's not my favorite
No.
movie of all time right now, but it's very 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 good. And I know we're going to get into a lot of it, but I I watched it this morning and I couldn't look away.
Mm-hmm.
It is it's an odd movie that I appreciate its almost 3 hour runtime very much because it never drags for me. And I have heard the complaint that it drags, but it or that it's
I don't,
bloated,
I don't,
and,
I don't, yeah, I
or
don't
that it.
subscribe to any of those. Yeah,
Yeah. Not drags. Maybe drags was the wrong word, but maybe that it was bloated or it's like overindulgent in itself and has just extra stuff just for the sake of like the flair. I disagree. I think every time I was about to think a scene was in excess and like unnecessary or just for the sake of doing it, like it was tied together so perfectly throughout the story. Like it segued into the next scene and had this like trail of never ending fun while you're watching it that I disagree completely. I agree with you. I mean, I think it's got the shelf life because it's top to bottom. I mean, and we'll get into it, but even like little roles in this thing are awesome performances too.
yeah, yeah. I'm so much like you. The first time I saw this, it was twice, and I'll go to the first time. The first time I saw it was with my brother in law John, the day after Christmas. John, and I don't know if you've ever met John before, Walker. I know he used to go to a couple of my wrestling matches. You might have heard me talk about him before.
I'm familiar. Spencer knows him, doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
he? Yeah.
He is pretty much like an older brother to me. I've known him since I was 13 years old, and him and I have always been incredibly close. We have a lot in common. But one thing that we don't really have in common is movies. And it's not that he doesn't like movies. He does, but he has a very particular taste and is very, very picky with what movies he watches and what movies he gives his time to. However, when he's a big fan of Leo,
Hmm.
and when the trailer dropped for this movie, he texted me and was like, "Yo, Ben, we got to go see this movie together, bro. We got to." That's my attempt at his voice. So after the Christmas stuff was all done, the next day we planned it and we went during a matinee, and we were both just captivated by this movie. It felt like like a shot of adrenaline with how manic the energy of this movie was, and how it felt like a movie that was at a constant state at 100 miles an hour. It just was going at a pace that just it could have felt relentless, and it does, but it's a good kind of relentless. It's just it's such an incredibly well paced movie, and I enjoyed it so much. I went back a few days later to go see it with my sister and our friends Ryan and Brittany for a late show. And even though I had to get up to go to work, I believe that next day at like 4 a.m. Uh, but I was, it was hashtag worth it. Throughout the next few months, though, this movie it kind of took on a life of its own. It became that one movie that you always recommended to like your friends and would watch it as a group because this movie is just so shocking and it really, really goes for it in parts that you had to be there to see each other's reactions. I think that's why this movie felt like it caught the world by storm. It's one of those water cooler movies that has this rewatchability factor to it that makes it feel like a giant party that's going crazy with excess, and you just can't take your eyes off of it. Even though these are characters that are downright despicable. These are people that are downright despicable things. And I watch this movie now and I still feel the same way about it. I'm completely engaged with this movie anytime it comes on because of the incredible performances, the frenetic and manic energy of it, that fast paced editing, the catchy soundtrack. Like this soundtrack for this movie is awesome. You even get a
It's
Foo
really
Fighters needle drop, which makes me happy. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan. The hilarious dark comedy. Like there are moments in this movie that I am dying laughing, but it's so messed up what they're saying, what I'm seeing. And of course, Martin Scorsese doing, what only he can do behind the camera. And that is he relishes in telling stories about these morally great characters, these morally great people. And this is a movie that to me is ultimately about the dangers of ambition and how money can corrupt your soul. because once you get a taste of it, you just want more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and it's just excess.
Yeah, I mean it's the 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 way he can capture. I love the concept of like I mean the argument starts where people say like some people say they glamorize Jordan Belfort and the lifestyle, and some people say they don't make it's not their job to make him a bad guy. They're all they're doing
Movies
is
are not
putting
the
this character out
moral.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
movies are not the moral compass for society. It is their job to just
Tell a story.
capture a picture, right, and tell a
Yeah.
story. And obviously, any good person watching this will sit there and be able to deduce the fact that this guy's a scumbag,
Mm-hmm.
and his merry band of men are also scumbags. But I enjoy watching them, and I enjoy seeing their fall. It's not. Yeah, I always get into a tiffy because the movie doesn't, tell the audience how to feel. It shows you how to feel, and that's what great filmmakers do. If you tell the audience how to feel, then that tells me that you don't believe in your film making capabilities enough, and you feel like you have to tell your audience how to feel, and that to me is a sign of a bad film and a bad filmmaker and a bad screenwriter. Like you can't do those things. And this is a movie that's incredibly confident in itself.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if you do feel that way, if you feel like they don't demonize him enough, if they glamorize him too much, I mean, maybe you need to like think about how you feel about this type of activity and this character. Like maybe you need to take a look at yourself. Which I'm not even saying is a bad thing, because I bet there's a lot of people who watch this movie. I mean, I watched when I was 23. There's a lot of people watch this movie like this is sick. Like this is a wild ride. I mean, I know he's an asshole. I know he's a piece of junk, but I feel stronger about that as a in my 30s than I did when I was young. Um, but yeah, I think part of this Martin Scorsese and Leo together capturing that balance is masterful.
Yeah, because it's at no point in this movie am I rooting for him,
Right.
but I enjoy. I just enjoy watching the excess. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I enjoy watching the excess. It's shocking and crazy that a lot of this stuff is true. Like
Mm-hmm.
from doing the research and hearing Jordan Belfort talk about it himself, it's pretty crazy, pretty
Mm-hmm.
wild. We've kind of talked about the reception of it a little bit already, but the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie currently sits at 80%, with the consensus being funny, self-referential, and irreverent to a fault. Wolf of Wall Street finds Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio at their most infectiously dynamic. Um, Obviously, the score is way higher for both of us, if I had to guess, right? For me, it
It's way
is.
higher.
But
It's way
yeah,
higher. I mean, I mean, maybe it's too high. I mean, I regraded it today, and I ended up at a 96.
that's fair. Like I would probably put this around the 97, 98 range. Like we
Mm-hmm.
just talked about another great movie from this year back in September, Prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
Man, 2013 had a lot of great movies.
Yeah, and I had Prisoners at a 95 earlier this year,
Yeah.
and that tracks with my favorites of the year. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's awesome, man.
Yeah. And we did a movie draft and you took Prisoners first and then I took Wolf of Wall Street.
You know, I tried to watch. I tried when I was watching it today. I was trying to like what's gonna knock it down, and like it's just so little, if anything. It's gonna be hard to even come up with anything that not like takes points down. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just
No.
it's to me it's just packaged together so perfectly that I mean I can't imagine not enjoying watching it
Yeah. I uh I
unless I was like
completely
sitting
agree.
next to my parents or something. Yeah, then I'd probably hate
I
it.
I see I love watching stuff like that with my mom. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
And and with when my dad was around, I used to love watching stuff like this with him because he would always make me laugh, say comments. But yeah, I mean, if you read some of the reviews, a lot of it they go into like the morally gray stuff on it. You know, like do they do a good enough job? We've already talked about it a little bit, but if you read through some of the reviews, do they do a good enough job of condemning his behavior and all that stuff? And I think that was by and large it seemed like to be the biggest reason why a lot of critics didn't like it at the time.
Yeah, I think we've already said. I mean, he's that you condemn him yourself. I mean, they just put the movie in front of you. I mean, like what did how did he not condemn? I mean, he was a pig in every aspect of his life, and I mean, he
Yeah,
did
I
very
don't.
few redeemable qualities. I mean, I don't what was so redeemable about him? That he's charming and he's handsome.
That's probably it. That would be the only two things. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think. And look, like there are certain movies. Like there was a movie that came out a few years ago, Licorice Pizza.
Mhm.
I hated that movie
Mhm.
because that movie has a relationship with it with between a 23 sometimes 27-year-old woman and a 14-year-old boy, and
Mhm.
the movie felt like to me going out of its way to justify that relationship instead of like just showing you what that relationship would really look like. I didn't think it did a good enough job portraying that that's not a good thing. As opposed to
Mhm.
this, it's very clear what they are doing is not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's all out there. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't agree. I think this movie does a pretty good job of showing you that a bad person, doing bad things.
Uh,
But let's get into some fun facts here. The actor snorted crushed up B vitamins for scenes that involved booger sugar. Jonah Hill claimed that he eventually became sick with bronchitis after so much inhaling and had to be hospitalized. I've often wondered what booger sugar is and what they use for it in movies. And especially in like something like Scarface where he just has mounds of it just sitting on his desk.
hmm.
And he's
Yeah,
just snorting that stuff up.
there's got to be. I mean, it's a ton of it that they've taken in. I mean, I imagine. I mean, he got sick with bronchitis. Does I don't even know what bronchitis. What is that? Like a lung infection?
Yeah, it's awful. I hate to always bring it up, but back when you were my wrestling coach, my first
Mhm.
tournament of the year, I was sick with bronchitis and wrestled. That was like that tournament that I did, pretty poorly at.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's awful. It's the worst.
Yeah, I've had it. I just I don't. I mean, I guess that makes sense from just inhaling and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Matthew McConaughey's scenes were shot on the second week of filming. The chest beating and the humming performed by him was improvised and was actually a warm up right that he performs before acting. When Leonardo DiCaprio saw it while filming, the brief shot of him looking away uneasy from the camera was actually looking at Martin Scorsese for approval. DiCaprio encouraged them to include it in their scenes and later claimed it to set the tone for the rest of the film, and it really does. And it's just so like, uh,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it's
That's just it's
oh.
gotten huge. It's. I did know this. I've heard this, and I feel like this is like the fun fact that's kind of spread pretty rapidly after the movie. I didn't
It's like
know that
Viggo Mortensen
that
breaking his toe in Lord of the Rings: Two Towers while he kicks
yeah.
the orc helmet. Yeah,
I didn't know that look of. I know exactly which look you're talking about, and I didn't know that was what that was for him looking at Martin. But that's awesome. I mean, yeah, the thing is just every time you hear it, you're like, oh yeah. I don't know. It
yeah.
just gets the juices flowing. It's a great ad, and it would be
It's
some weird thing he would do.
listen. Out of all the celebrities that I would just want to hang out with for the day, I think Matthew McConaughey is like very close to the top. because I would
Yeah,
just
he's
love to pick his brain because I'm sure it's full of crap like that.
yeah. Have you read his book?
Green light,
Yeah,
green light.
yeah.
I have not. I need to. I'm currently trying to read Arnold's book.
Oh, really?
Be useful. Yeah.
The his book's good. He's a very interesting guy. I usually don't like audiobooks because they're hard for me to like follow and focus on.
Mhm.
I tend to like space out when I'm listening to him, but he reads his. So I was like, oh, I got to do the audiobook because I want to hear him read it.
Is
And
it all
it
right? All
and
right. All right.
it's all right. I mean, and it goes through his past. I mean, he was a lawbreaker a time or two, but it's good. It's good. It's worth a read.
I'm looking forward to listening to that at some point. Originally, Martin Scorsese offered Margot Robbie to appear wearing a bathrobe during the seduction scene between her and Leonardo DiCaprio. Robbie refused and insisted on doing the scene fully nude, her first in her career. According to Robbie, the whole point of Naomi is that her body is her only form of currency in this world. She has to be naked. She's laying her cards on the table, Robbie said. She also said she took 3 shots of tequila in succession before shooting the scene to relax because she was very, very nervous, quote, very, very nervous. After shooting was complete, Robbie initially fibbed to her family and friends about her actually doing the nude scene in order to delay any personal repercussions, claiming CGI was used to superimpose her head on a body double, which has been done a lot. She eventually changed her mind and confessed when the film was released. Kind of a power move by Margot Robbie there.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a commitment to the role, and she's owning it.
Yeah,
I know
good on her
that's got to
for
be a tough and scary situation,
yeah.
and I like the personal aspect of it, being very nervous and her family not sure what to tell them. You always wonder that kind of thing from a
That's
fan's
awkward.
perspective, how that would handle how you
Yeah.
would personally handle it or whatever. So I appreciate it, and I think it probably was a scene improver.
Well, it goes to show it goes to show that there was just this recent interview that came out of her, the actors on actors of the producer of Oppenheimer asking her to move Barbie because she's the producer of Barbie, and her saying, "Yeah, no, we're not moving."
Yeah,
She lays down the law. She know what she wants. I respect the hell out of that. That's awesome. Hats off to her.
yeah, and she's going into a movie packed full of powerhouses already. I mean, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, she's just,
Jonah
and I
Hill.
mean, good for her.
Yeah,
And she obviously, I
yeah.
mean, she's just a natural from the start. As soon as she's in this movie, she's been nothing but terrific in
Your
everything
eyes are
she's been in.
hooked. Yeah, and it's not just because she's gorgeous; it's because she's an
She's great.
incredible performer. Yeah, she's
She's been great
really,
in everything
really
she's
good.
been in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, Blake Lively, Rosie Huntington Whitley were considered to play Naomi. Teresa Palmer, Amber Heard auditioned for the role before Margot Robbie was cast. Could you see any of these actresses portraying Naomi?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Margot Robbie just, I mean, I don't know. She made such a splash with this movie. I mean,
Yeah,
like we just said, she is such a talented actor. She's also just absolutely gorgeous, and I know that's not, but she just owned this role from beginning to end. I mean, and I know we'll talk about a lot of scenes coming up, but she's awesome in it, and it's hard. I mean, these other women are talented and beautiful as well, but the Margot Robbie just. When I think of this movie, she's one of the first things I think about in this movie. And when I think of her in this movie.
yeah,
I
she's
mean,
tremendous in this movie. This was really a star making performance, and she went toe to toe in her first big movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, one of the
yep.
greatest actors of his generation, probably of all time.
In
Like,
arguably his best performance of all time. You know, like, I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, depending on who you ask, but certainly it's in the conversation of his best performance ever.
yeah.
And she and at no point did she get swallowed.
No, I could. So Blake Lively, I could see her doing it,
Hmm.
and being pretty good because I don't know if you've ever seen it. I had it on the tip of my tongue and then I just forgot about it. Simple Favor.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw that movie. She was really good in it. It's a movie that I'm kind of mixed on, but I thought she was really terrific in it. I could see
Hmm.
her doing something like this, but it's Margot Robbie's role for
Yeah.
sure. On a routine visit, Steven Spielberg spent a day on set watching the shoot of the Steve Madden speech. Martin Scorsese claims that Spielberg essentially co-directed the scene, giving advice to actors and suggesting camera angles. That's pretty cool of Spielberg, and it's also really cool and very not ego-driven of Scorsese to say like, "Yeah, this guy came in and helped me," and these are both like all-time directors.
No.
It's pretty cool, and this is something that Spielberg has done. I don't know if he's done it a few times, but I remember when I did my pod for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It's back there. When I did my pod for that, he did some of the animatics for the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is why it kind of has that swashbuckling feel to it, I think,
Hmm.
even though it's a very dramatic fight. But that's a really good scene and pretty cool that Spielberg did that.
It is cool. Yeah, and and it's a great scene. And that's I agree with everything you said. I don't have anything to add. That was from Marty's perspective, from Steven's perspective, and from the movie. I think it did it well. That's cool.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan Belfort coached Leonardo DiCaprio on his behavior, especially instructing him in the various ways he had reacted to the Quaaludes he abused, as well as his dope-induced confrontation with Danny Porsche. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I read the book. I read this book as well. When I get the book that this is based on, that Jordan Belfort wrote,
Yeah.
and the book's great. The book's great. The movie's better, but the book is great. Jordan Belfort, the real Jordan Belfort, I find him far less charming than Leonardo DiCaprio. I,
Do you think it's do you think it's because you love Leo? Like we love him as an actor and
I think that's no. I don't. I actually don't. That's a good question. I could. I mean, yeah, obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the most. Yes, I probably, but that's part of the reason I don't find him as charming as Leonardo DiCaprio. But I don't find him charming in general. I kind of don't like him. I guess obviously I don't like him. He's a dickhead. But now that he's like on the latter half of his life, that and apparently he supposedly has straight and narrow now, turn the other cheek, going up the other side. You know, he's still a douchebag. I mean, I follow him on Instagram, and he likes the fame that this movie has like drummed up for him. You know,
I'm
and the
sure.
life
Yeah.
and but when he speaks about the movie, he's very candid. He's very candid in the book, which I do appreciate. I did like the book, and I mean, which is why the movie gets to be so bombastic, because he's honest and unapologetic and I guess factual, and he doesn't pour sugar on anything. I mean, maybe he exaggerates some stuff, who knows, but he does not make himself look like a good guy in the book at all, which is refreshing, especially on like an autobiography.
Yeah.
But now watching his personality on like on his like social media presence and stuff, when he talks about things, he even now at a much older age, and seeing others, he doesn't talk about things apologetically now or regretfully or remorsefully. He talks about them in like a braggadocious way, almost like he's still like thinks he's like looks
Like
cool
a
that he used to.
like a frat guy telling you about his crazy party stories.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's just bragging about his getting girls and drugs and partying, and like maybe he's exaggerating for effect, or no, like, maybe not exaggerating. Maybe he's just telling you the facts, and like that's similar to that refreshing take I just mentioned. But he almost sounds proud of it. He doesn't sound in person. He in the book he did not sound as proud of it. He sounded matter of fact, which I appreciated. And on social media nowadays, he seems like he's like bragging about it, and it's just not a good look for me. I just think it comes off a little weird.
That's fair. That's fair. I
Yeah.
only, in preparation for this podcast, I only watched one review, or not one review. It was one interview that he did, and he went over a lot of his stuff. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty much in agreement with what you're saying. This surpassed Shutter Island as Martin Scorsese's highest-grossing film worldwide. The Departed remains his highest-grossing film domestically. It's still crazy
So
to
it's
me.
yeah, it's interesting that that works out that way sometimes, and with that's like Shutter Island. I
Domestic,
get
worldwide kind of
yeah,
grosses.
yeah, just
Yeah,
that
well,
some.
it shows you what the market's like. Worldwide is different
Mhm,
compared to like. So the highest-grossing film of all time, just domestically, is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It's
mhm.
grossed, I think, $950 million worldwide, or not worldwide, but domestically, which is almost
Yeah,
$1 billion domestic. That's crazy.
yeah,
But worldwide, it's Avatar, and Avatar's bigger overseas than it is here. It's still pretty big
yeah,
here, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, I get you. Yeah, and I mean, what's Star Wars like number six or so in worldwide?
no, I think it's
It's up there, right?
still it's four. I think
Okay.
it's 4 or 5. I think number one is Avatar. Number two,
In game.
slightly behind it, is Endgame. Number three is Avatar: The Way of Water, which is crazy. Number four is Infinity War, or no, I think it's. I'll have to go look, but
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
know
but
the top three.
I know
But I think it's I
Pirates is
think it
pretty high.
yeah, Pirates is really high. The original Avengers is high. You know what? Vamp about this. I'm gonna look this up because it's gonna
Yeah,
kill me if I don't know the official top five.
is No Way Home up there? Did No Way Home
I
make a
think that's number
billion?
6. I think that's number 6. Let me
How many
see how
how many have made a billion? Five, four?
in terms of like billion. Like no, you have I think it's like in the 50s for a billion. All
Oh,
right, so here we go. Avatar is number 1. Endgame, Way of Water, Titanic, Force Awakens. So I was close. That's what was tripping me up because I was like, yeah, because Cameron's got 3 movies in the top 5.
oh, you in the 50s have made $1 billion?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
I'll
that like adjusted for?
no, I don't do adjusted for inflation. Yeah, 53.
Oh
The
wow,
lowest grossing $1 billion movie is Jurassic World Dominion.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The highest grossing like Marvel or the highest grossing DC movie is Aquaman. The 29 mark. That's the 29th highest grossing movie of all time.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, completely crazy. But off tangent. But these are like the five highest grossing movies of all time. I was really close. Yeah, and Spider-Man: No Way Home is number 7. I was off by one. Infinity War is number 6.
Gotcha.
There's only 6 movies to gross a billion or 2 billion, and Avatar looks to be a few million shy of 3 billion. is at 2.9. And then Avengers Endgame is at 2.7. And then Way of Water is 2.3.
You think Oppenheimer will cross over? They just re-released it here.
Let's see where it's currently at right now. It's at the 63 mark. It's at 951 million. I don't think it'll get there. That's an extra $48 million it's got to make.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll do that.
Gotcha.
Maybe Lifetime, but yeah, I mean, going back to the topic,
Shutter Island and Departed.
Shutter Island was a pretty big movie when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
The twist, and everyone loved it. The Departed obviously won Best Picture in 2006, or for the year 2006. Won it in 2007. Doesn't surprise me. That's still, I think, my favorite Marty movie.
It might
put
be for me too.
I might put The Wolf of Wall Street just a tiny bit ahead.
Yeah,
But,
I love like Goodfellas and Casino too, but yeah, I don't even remember how we did in our draft, but this is just a testament. Departed is very similar to Wolf for me. Like they're pieced together very similarly and they're just, I feel like they're tied up in such neat little bows, and I love both of them. They're both very, very high scores for me.
I completely agree. The word fuck and its numerous conjugations are said 569 times, making this film with the most uses of the word in a mainstream R-rated film in the United States, non-documentary, until SwearNet, 2014, took the record with 935 recorded uses of the word. Thus, for a brief time, Martin Scorsese had taken back the record that he held with Goodfellas in 1990, 300 uses, until Menace to Society surpasses it in 1993 with 305 uses.
SwearNet. You know what that is?
I've never heard of it.
Is that the Trailer Park Boys? Hang on. It's Trailer Park Boys. Have you ever heard the show Trailer Park Boys?
Oh,
Ricky,
yeah, I've heard
Julian, and Bubbles?
I've never seen it.
It's awesome. It's awesome. We'll talk about it later, but they were on like a Canadian channel. I don't remember what it was called, and it caught on really late in America, and then Netflix, I think, bought them for a bit and started putting out some new seasons a couple years later. They made like 7 or 8 seasons, then Netflix bought them, and Netflix put out four or 5 seasons, and then it came to an end, and then the 3 stars started this company. I think, maybe I've got some facts wrong, but they started a company called SwearNet and started putting more like webisodes and stuff like that out with their content, and it's fallen off and it's not as good anymore, and it's not nearly as watched anymore, but I think they enjoy doing it, and some diehard fans still watch. But I think they made a movie that's kind of like a meta behind the scenes of Trailer Park Boys type of movie. I think that's what SwearNet is. Interesting. I don't know.
My-
That just was such a random pull that was on there.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that SwearNet. Well, it's in the title, so maybe.
No.
This film broke the Guinness Book of World Record for the most swearing in one movie, 681 expletives, equal to 3.81 swear words per minute.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
I do too. An unexpected person to thank for the film's existence is Tommy Chong, one half of stoner comedy duo Cheech and Chong. Chong was serving a sentence in California prison for selling drug paraphernalia over the internet, and he was cellmates with Jordan Belfort. who was serving a 22-month sentence for stock fraud. Belfort told Chong multiple stories from his days as a stockholder or stockbroker, and it was upon Chong's encouragement that Belfort wrote this book, The Wolf of Wall Street, resulting in the infamous film.
Did not know that at all.
Now,
That's
that is
that's
a
wild news.
that's one of the craziest things I'll never forget. I knew this just a couple days after the movie because, like I said, brother-in-law John doesn't love every movie. He has a very different taste, very unique taste. And this, when he loves a movie, he really loves a movie, and he like dove in headfirst on a lot of the research. And this was one of the stories that he first texted me. He's like, "Yo, did you know that Tommy Chong was his roommate? That's crazy." And I was like, "No way, not roommate, but his cellmate." I was like, "That's wild.
That is
What are
wild.
the odds?"
I would love to have like seen Jordan Belfort's reaction, like because I imagine he knew who it was immediately, and was just like, he's like, no way,
That's wild.
you are a badass motherfucker.
Last fun fact we'll get to here. It's kind of a sad fun fact. Wolf of Wall Street was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Director, Best Actor, Supporting Actor, and Adapted Screenplay. It went 0 for 5.
That sucks.
2013 was a tough year, though. Like,
I know.
it's a really, really tough year. When you look at Best Picture, losing to 12 Years a Slave, which is a great movie. Definitely not as rewatchable as this one.
No. Yeah, but that,
And
I mean, 12 Years a Slave seems like a reasonable win, I would think, as far as
it's
Best
it's
Picture.
it's a it's a reasonable win. It's not egregious. It's not like 1998 or 96 all over again.
Mm-hmm. What was
It,
96?
the English Patient over Jerry Maguire.
Hmm. Okay.
I hate that. I detest that. I loathe it. Not the
I
movie
mean,
English
I
Patient.
don't think it's. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as
98.
Shakespeare in Love of over was it Saving Private
Yeah.
Ryan. That seems crazy. I just watched Shakespeare in Love for the first time a month or two ago. Good movie. That seems crazy. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't watch Saving Private Ryan without being like, wow. And Shakespeare in Love, I that's a movie I could like pause and finish in 3 days, like just kind of off and on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the more egregious snubs. Best director, that was going to be a tough one to win. That was going to be a real tough one to win. Alfonso Cuarón won
Hmm.
for Gravity,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alfonso
Was,
Cuarón won for
was Hugh
Gravity.
Jackman nominated?
For nothing. No, no one
Man.
from Prisoners got any nominations. I don't think. I think it got like one nomination, and that was it. When we did the research for that, go back and check me. I'm pretty sure if you guys are listening to this, if anyone's listening to this, go back, listen to our Prisoners episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I only got like one nomination. Best actor. This is a tough year, man. You had Chiwetel Ejiofor for 12 Years a Slave, which was a powerhouse performance. You had Matthew McConaughey coming in and absolutely killing it in Dallas Buyers Club, and then Leo. Like that is a tough year. And then supporting actor was also going to be really tough for Jonah Hill to win because Jared Leto was phenomenal as Rayon. Um, Adapted
Such a shame. I mean,
screenplay.
I don't know what I want. I mean, I guess it's good for us. It's all good for us. Things like this. I mean, this year too. I'm thinking about a lot of like the
Yeah,
supporting
this
actor
year
and
is
things like that. It's there are so many, and I don't know if I tend to have popular or unpopular opinions when it comes to performances. I feel like there's a lot of stuff we agree on pretty strongly, and then a lot of stuff we disagree on. But I mean, there's a lot of talent out there this year. um, and great performances. So it just kind of like you just want people to get their due. And Matthew McConaughey is one of those people I wanted them to get their. I thought that so that's a tough like.
And we'll get to it later, but I have a theory as to why McConaughey ended up winning. And look, I love Leo in this movie, and I would not have been upset if he won. Matthew McConaughey, I also love in Dallas Buyers Club. I would have given him just the slightest of slightest edges over Leo. But again, I love both of them in their roles. And this is
Okay.
arguably Leo's best performance. Some people would go Django. She's really good in. Some people would go Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've heard that before. He's really good in that. Excellent in
Yeah,
that.
he shows up to work every time.
He does,
I think
man.
we've all seen that video from Wolf of Wall Street on Instagram where it shows him like laser focused before the take. Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
And then all of a sudden
I
it's
mean,
like, bam.
yeah, he's like it's like action. He's like and he's right in the camera. I mean, it's like dude. I mean,
Yeah.
he takes it so seriously, and I
It's
love stuff
unreal.
like that. That brings it out to where it's like this is a job, and he's doing it.
Yeah. This isn't just fun for him. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move to our award section, guys. It's the Ben and Walker Movie Show Awards. This is more prestigious than the Oscars, in my opinion. Um, some people would agree with us, Walker. But let's start off with best scenes and moments here. Usually, I keep this to like a hard 10, but it was really hard, so I kind of just went over it and I went to 12. I had to, man. It's tough. I did it last time with Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's when movies are like this good and they're that long, it's hard. It's really hard
You got it down
to
from
keep.
35, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. The opening. This whole section when you get like the throwing the little person on the target. You get his rundown of his drug routine, what he does daily, and then of course that sick shot of the Lambo that he's
It's a
driving? Is it a
Ferrari.
Lambo?
It's a Ferrari.
Yeah, if the Ferraris that he's driving, it goes from red to white.
It's awesome.
It's so sick,
It's
so
awesome.
sick.
I,
Yeah, it perfectly gets you like as soon as you see it, you're like, all right, this is the kind of movie I'm watching.
it sets the tone perfectly. It is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I mean, I even a moment before that when they're like Wall Street and it like goes through a little bit of like with the bear and the bull and like ticker symbols and stuff really quickly and you're like okay I'm interested and then it's like we're going to the party side of Wall Street and I like even that we foreshadow so much. We foreshadow Naomi, so we know that's coming eventually. We know that this light's about to change from the Jordan Belfort we meet right after
The
the opening.
Duchess.
Love the color shift. That is sweet. Obviously, the way he's like talking, and I mean, he's being very crass, and it's like okay, and I mean, I love the drug. He's like, I got to take Quaaludes 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain. To
Yeah,
I don't
I
know,
take Adderall to help me focus.
yeah,
I take
Xanax to chill me out, cocaine to
to
wake me
mellow me
back
out.
up, pot to mellow me out, and morphine, well, because it's awesome. And it's
Yeah,
like it's
you're
just
like
so. I mean,
Jesus.
you're just when you're in this, when you're like just on board this ride, you're just like, all right, buckle up. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun. I mean, and then when he takes a line of vitamin B and has with the $100 bill and just like says like this is the this shit'll make you invincible. It's great. I mean,
yeah.
it's just a perfect little.
Well, again, that even that right there tells you the ultimate theme of the movie, or one of the ultimate themes of the movie is how money can corrupt your soul, and it's the biggest addiction. It's the money. You want more, 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 more. Mark, Hannah, and Jordan go to lunch. Slash, Mark gives Jordan the rundown. The
It's a great scene. I like. It's a great scene. I love I love the juxtaposition of the two characters in it, but also Jordan and later Jordan, or Jordan in the opening to Jordan in this scene to the Jordan we're gonna eventually get to, where he's, I mean, he's even sitting. His suit's too big for him. He's sitting kind of like hunched. He
Yeah, he's
just
kind
looks
of just
naive, and
yeah.
he's uncomfortable the whole time. But he's,
Well, dude, he was hitting those rookie numbers. He
yeah.
needed to pump those numbers up a little bit, and he would be in the zone.
Yeah, I mean, and so he's hunched. His suit's too big for him. He looks naive and innocent, but also curious, and and he says right before this scene, like, he was already an ambitious, money hungry person. He's just
And in real life, he had already had like his own business, and then another business that like bottomed out, right?
that
Like a
sounds
meat
right.
business. Yeah.
That sounds right. But he's just green in this point, at least on Wall Street, at least for the sake of the movie, and he and Leo really captures that perfectly. And it's, I mean, but in this scene, I mean, the star of the scene is Matthew McConaughey. I mean, he comes off, I mean, he's great.
So here's my theory.
Mhm.
The reason why Matthew McConaughey won Best Actor for this movie, on top of, because Oscars are really about momentum, right? It's all about career momentum. And he had been building it since The Lincoln Lawyer, and he started being more picky and choosy
Mhm.
with his movie roles, and was trying to shed that rom com aesthetic that he had. And he did Mud, then he did True Detective, or he did Mud, he did uh, Dallas Buyers Club, this, and then True Detective. The reason he won over Leo, I think, is because not only the momentum that he built up, but also because of this scene. He completely steals the scene from Leo.
Yeah, that's a good theory. I think that's a great theory, actually. I mean, I think I remember being in this,
Reconnaissance.
yeah, in this reconnaissance. Like, and I remember the I mean, True Detective, especially. I'm a big fan of season one, and I'm a big fan of this movie. And obviously, I don't think you mean this either. You said it earlier that you give him the slight edge. He's, don't take an ounce away from his Dallas Buyers Club performance. I mean, he's is committed to that
Mm-mm.
role, and that's an
Yeah.
incredible piece of work.
That scene where he's crying in the car, man. It.
Yeah, but the but yeah, I think you're right. I think the momentum, like, at least sealed the deal for him. And then, yeah, this scene, I mean, he
Yeah.
steals the show in this scene. I mean, it's great.
The, the rookie numbers bit is
Yeah,
always so funny to me.
yeah. And, even it's funny. Even smaller roles. Again, I'm gonna try to piece out a few of them. The asshole, the pond scum guy.
Yeah.
So first of all, I was gonna mention McConaughey. Mark Hanna comes off. Well, he's also a d bag. He's coming off much more charming than that guy. Which is a nice, like, comparison. But that guy is also, he's in Billions, and he plays a scumbag in Billions too, the TV show. And he's a good actor. I mean, like, little bit parts like that where I love that, like, that's such a small role. I mean, obviously McConaughey's a small role, but this guy's just Bond scum. He's a very small role. And I mean, they just got like I mean, either they got him before he became like a known guy or what. But I love when it just works out with all these parts. Another person in it was the secretary, that she has red hair, and she comes in and she's like, "Hey, your dad's coming here, something about the American Express bill." It's Stormfront from The Boys. And
Oh, yeah.
she's also in a show called You're the Worst on FX, which I really enjoyed. And she's great in it. But like little parts like that where they just get like these actors before they're out, it's just always fun to see that, and it always seems to work out in like good Scorsese picks.
Yeah. Scalper. So I love this scene for one reason. Well, for multiple reasons. I shouldn't just say for one reason, but this is like the first thing in the movie that we see that is really absurd
Mm-hmm.
outside of like the first, couple minutes where you just see that this is going to go this is only going to get worse from here. And the girl shaving her head just so she could get a boob job, and you're seeing like the whole, again, that theme is repeating. It's all about the things you're willing to do and the bits of yourself that you're willing to sell for money, right?
Yeah.
And when that like blues song comes in and it's like all distorted and the lights start flashing, I love that. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's well done too. And like the woman who gets her head shaved plays it pretty well too. She just kind of looks like she doesn't really know where she is. Like she looks like she's like, what have I gotten myself into here? Like what? And
It's not
I
even
think
completely shaven. It's like
yeah,
patchy.
yeah.
Yeah. It looks like, if you're familiar with hair versus hair matches in WWE, that's what it looks like.
I wonder how much she got paid for it for real, the actress. And I wonder if it was less than 10 grand and if it felt weird that the guy was saying 10 grand and she was like, I'm not even making 10 grand for it. Because it's not like a huge. I don't know if she's in the movie other than that scene, but
I think it's just that
it could
bit.
have just been like an extra that they pull up and like we're like, hey man, anybody willing to shave their head? Because I feel like if they were filming
Yeah.
it in Wilmington, they'd be like, we'll give you 800.
Yeah. It's I think this is where the movie really starts to go into that descent, into the debauchery. Who the fuck is Venice?
Yep.
Venice? I don't even know Venice. What are you talking about? Venice. You
I
calling a
love this
name in
scene.
your sleep. Yeah.
I love this scene. I love it for so many reasons. First of all, it's the scene that happens directly after the wedding and honeymoon scene. And like they talk about this
Yeah.
like wedding, honeymoon, fantasy on this yacht. They're so happy, young love. They're going for every finally
Foo
found his
Fighters,
happiness. You,
Everlong.
yeah, and they play Foo Fighters, and it's just perfect. And then all of a sudden, it's like splash. It's like wake up back to reality, and I think that's amazing.
Jordan is with a dominatrix. He's got a candle in his ass. And
That's
she's
hilarious. And
dirty
he's like,
little
"You're too
birdie.
Bernie."
Dirty.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
So the whole
God,
scene just works for me. It's great.
but her going toe to toe with him and throwing the water at him, and then him just being like trying to calm her down. Is like, hey, baby, come on, come on. And he's like getting closer and closer to her like this, and she's like, you're flexing your freaking muscles. You look like an imbecile, or whatever she says to him.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Throws the water at him again, and he just starts kirking out. It, it leads directly into the next scene, which is Naomi teases Jordan, "Daddy," scene. Just incredible performance by Margot Robbie here. Just so good.
Yeah, she
So
nailed it.
good. Nailed it. And the way that she says "Daddy" is,
It's very
dude, come
funny.
on. This was like her audition for right here, at least for Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, this is a very memorable scene too, and it's funny. She it she plays the role of the in control. Got you like tied, on the end of your finger to the embarrassed. I've been bested in this interaction so quickly, and she just nails it. It's great.
Yeah. Have you noticed something funny about the bear in his eyes?
Mr. Fuzzy Bear's eyes.
Yeah, Mr. Fuzzy Bear. Yeah. Jordan introduces Steve Madden slash pick up the phone and start dialing. Listen,
It'll get your juices flowing. It'll get you hype.
it is. I want you to shove Steve Madden stock down their throats until they fucking choke on it. And then like he's just like hitting himself in the head with the microphone, is like grunting and like acting just like an animal. Like it's like
Yeah,
intense, man.
and I mean, I've worked in sales for a long time, and you try to get these little pep talk things from different sales coach and managers and things like that throughout the years, and they're always just roll your eyes. I don't care. I'm not bought into this. I'm not invested. I'm here for a check. I hate everything about this. Blah blah blah. If you could hear, I mean, I certainly understand how he like got a army of people behind him, just
Yeah.
hype and ready to just kill the world for him. Because I mean, he can. You behind on your rent? Good. Pick up the phone. It's just great. I mean,
Yeah.
he's and
If your
Leo
girlfriend
commits.
thinks you're a loser, good. Yeah.
It's all thanks to Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. It is a just an amazing performance. One of the best scenes in the movie. It's great. Uh, Jordan meets Patrick on the boat.
It is tough. So I'm gonna like every scene. I'm gonna be like, yeah, this is one of the best scenes. I mean, they're all really, really good. And I understand
Yeah.
having to cut it down from 35 scenes to 10, but this is very memorable to me too. I mean, I love the way, first of all, Kyle Chandler plays it beautifully. I mean, he's playing
Mhm.
along with it, and like even as a viewer, you're not quite sure on whether he's like, okay, is Jordan like charming him too? Is he getting the best of him? And he's like, dude, say what you said one more time. Like he's just like, and
It's
he's
so
in control.
perfect though. He plays it so well because he just like he looks down, he's shaking his head like this, and then he looks up at him and he goes,
Yeah,
"Repeat what you just said one
so
more
perfect.
time."
And,
And it's so good. And then see this? This is your yearly salary. This is what I call fun coupons. Here you go.
yeah, yeah, and Leo plays it beautifully because Leo's very insecure in this scene. It's very
Mhm.
obvious, which is he. So this role has so much range, and it's subtle. It's not
Yeah.
it's not over the top because in this particular, he's not normally insecure. I mean, normally, I mean, maybe I don't know, but he's when he's like pick up the phone and start dialing, he is in charge. He knows what he wants. He is a man of the plan and direct and a leader. And then when he's on this boat, he is insecure and trying to prove to someone he's better than them who doesn't agree with him, and it's like making him freak out. And he's also freaking out because he's realizing he's just not like in control of the situation and not as like on top of it and not able to sell or charm or manipulate his way out of it. And Leo grabs it perfectly. Looks like a brat in this scene. Also worth mentioning how beautiful it's shot. I mean, like there's a lot of scenes in this movie where it's like it's gorgeous to look at, and I mean this boat scene. I mean, I love the costume design. Everything about it looks really, really pretty.
Yeah. The high from the lemons when they hit and the messed up Jordan confronts messed up Donnie. This is so it's so unexpected because they take these lemons and it takes forever for them to kick in, so they just start taking more and more and more and more. Lemons are what's the name of the drug? The Quaaludes, but they're
Quaaludes,
like the older, stronger version or
yeah,
something
they're
like
like
that.
some more potent version, and then they'd been like had a shelf life. They'd been sitting on the shelf for a while, and they were, I guess, expired. But instead of it, like created like a delayed fuse, so they
Yeah,
took way too much.
way too much. And he's on the phone. He's like, "What? What did you just say? Are you high?" I was, was.
It's so perfect. It's
And
such a
he
good.
just falls down and he's like, I've entered the new phase, the cerebral palsy phase. And
Yeah,
he's just like cracking out of the ground. The physical acting that he does in this scene when he is just like collapsed on the floor and he's telling himself, yeah, crawl on the floor like Skylar. So he just starts crawling on the floor, does a somersault, roll down the stairs. Like I'm just like, ah, my back. Like just
yeah,
thinking about it. Like, why not just roll like on your side? It's just like, so painful. And then the opening of the door is comical. He actually like pulled his back doing that, apparently. And can only do the
uh,
one take.
I mean, it's a good. I mean, it's. I like this scene a lot. I think it's really well done. This was the scene I took away from the movie the first time I saw it. Like this was,
This is the scene.
yeah, this is the scene, right? And what's also beautifully done about it is, first of all, the narration is great, and then on top of that, the unreliable narration is even better.
Mhm.
I think that's a fantastic method to use in this
Well,
at this point. I love the stairs, how they made them look longer. I the physical acting, like you said, is fantastic. I have a little more to say. I'll save it for a little later, but oh yeah, then we get the Donnie part too. Getting back to that, just the
dude,
sheer panic, and you're like getting anxiety because again, unfortunately, you're kind of on this
get
ride with him throughout
off
the
the
movie.
phone.
You're on
You start hitting him with the cord,
the.
and then the cord snaps back and
It's
hits him in the
fucking
face.
good, right? Yeah.
He's like eating like Jer- Donnie's like shoving the food down his mouth, starts choking, falls on the table, it just bursts
Yeah,
everywhere.
that was very, like, intense too. That glass table breaking was very, it was a cool
And
choice to use.
you're not sure if he's gonna let him die here.
Yeah, that was a good choice. I mean, I love it. I mean, the scene's masterful. I mean, I mean, he
Yeah,
has this look in his eyes. Naomi, kind of snaps him out of it, but also like she plays the part really well too. I mean, just like in there, like, oh my god, what's that? Like what's going on? Like she just looks like she has had enough.
done.
And also this scene is narratively, in terms of the screenplay, is a really pivotal scene in
It's a
terms of
pivot point.
which way we're going to which way we're about to go. It's kind of, we
Yeah,
hit a U-turn or a peak, I guess, and it's. I mean, Scorsese's movies are so hard to find like a climax. They have like a couple climaxes. It feels like when they go, and like because he does such a falling action. I guess the old school storyboard read, like introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, conclusion. His falling action can be an hour and 15 minutes a lot of times, where he really wraps up a story how he wants to. So this, in my eyes, can kind of serve as like a climb. I mean, it's so good. I mean, I really like this scene a lot.
yeah, I do too. And just the Popeye bit when he takes his B vitamins.
I forgot about that. That's perfect too. I mean, it's just great. And then I love it. His line is like, "Step aside, baby, move aside."
Step aside, step aside.
Great.
So funny. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, man, God, it's gonna be
So
impossible to pick one of these.
so many. Just the sheer like. So there's the real like messed up part of this where he is making what's the woman's name, essentially tell this story about, oh, look at me, look how good of a person I am, I gave her 15 or $5 million more or something like that.
She asked for 5 grand. He gave her 25 grand. Kimmy or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's an odd. Yeah. Um,
yeah. And then he's doing this thing, he's gonna step down, and then dude, when the flip, when it turns and that side of him kicks in, the I'm not leaving, they're gonna have to, what does he say, they're gonna have to like carry me out of here.
yes, I don't remember, with a crane or something. They're gonna have to
Yeah,
pull me out of here with a fucking. Yeah, I don't remember what he says, but it's a great scene.
it's
Um,
just the beating on the chest, the and all of them doing the thing and chanting.
yeah, this one had kind of a slow burn. This was the scene that feels to have like caught on the most in social media. This one's the scene that's been mean the most. It feels like
Yeah.
I see so many like I'm not fucking leaving type memes or videos. It's good.
Hmm. Boat ride to Monaco.
It's pretty good. Good.
Crazy. I am not gonna die sober. Go get the loot.
Yeah, I like the beginning. I like right before that too when they're deciding, and he's like, it's a little chop. It's chop. I went on a cruise in 2016. Like Hurricane Matthew was coming, and we were like concerned that it was going to cancel our cruise, and we were going to the Bahamas, and then they were like, hey, because of the hurricane coming, we're going to shift it and go to Mexico. But like we were, I mean, it was soon enough that we had not left yet. Like we were still in town, and we knew there was a hurricane coming to our town and coming up from the East Coast. So it was like very like, I mean, what do we do? And these lines were thrown around a lot. It's like a little chop. It's just a little chop. We can handle chop.
A little chop. We'll be fine. Yeah.
It's
That.
it's
Yeah.
and it's like three
It's
three
an
fucking business days where it's wrap.
yeah. It's yeah. It's again they've another pivot point in this movie where it's another big hit to him. Where he almost dies, and in real life, yeah, he got a his jet to fly out there, but it didn't happen on that exact day. I forget how it happened, but he just missed it.
Yeah, if I yeah, no, okay, I'll bring it up later.
But yeah, it's still a crazy point where it's kind of another pivot. The line, it's not even just it's the scene where he goes in and they're telling him, "Hey, because he's got to deal with the FBI. This is what we want you to do. We want you to incriminate these people." And he's like, "So you want me to be a rat, or what do you want me to do? What are you asking?" And then Kyle Chandler, Patrick, comes over and it's just like, "Yes, we want you to fucking rat."
Yeah,
Like he's had enough. He's done. Like he's annoyed. There's something when I was watching it this time, and I've always loved it, but it really stood out to me where it's like you're at your breaking point and you're dealing with somebody who you know is just going to be a problem, and it's just going to irritate you. So it's best you just be as blunt and as straightforward as possible, and you're just like, you know what? No, this is what we want you to do. Do it. Like
yeah,
it
I love it.
I,
It's
I relate to that.
it's written well. It's played well. I love Kyle Chandler too.
I do
Have you ever
too.
seen the show Bloodline?
No.
He's very good in that, and that show is very good too. It's a Netflix show. At least season one's really good. Yeah, it's written great. I mean, I love that they're like, "Hey, man, enough Yes, that's what you're doing. Take it or leave it, dude."
Yeah. Patrick rises Subway. And
Poetic.
so very much, the good guys often that's unfortunately they're the ones who have to work to the bone, and they don't get all the excess. They don't get all the money in the world, even though they've done a really good thing.
Yep, they're the hero, and that's what the hero is. And it's. I mean, it's that gray, I guess sometimes morbid look at life that Scorsese's able to capture so well in a lot of his stuff. So I mean, yeah, I'm glad they have that scene in there. It really just kind of makes you think, makes you chuckle. I don't know what it does. Makes you feel.
It makes you do all those things, and that's the brilliance of that scene. There's not a word said, but actually, Kyle Chandler's really good in this. We're just talking about this, and there's 3 scenes with him, and we're talking about him in it. Like he's really really good. This is
It is
tough
tough.
list to choose from. Man, can we choose like several? Can there be like a tie? I don't know. I don't know. We have to choose one each.
I'm gonna go the lemons. I mean that. I mean, look, I'm not. I wouldn't be about 7 of these scenes are contenders for me as number one. But I'm gonna go with the lemon scene. I mean, that scene
Yeah.
is magnificent. It's such a pivotal part of the movie. It and like I said, the first time I saw the movie, it's without a doubt what the scene that sticks with me the most.
So since you took that one, and since there's so many scenes that, because that would have been my pick, kind of diversify our picks here. I will go with Mark Hanna and Jordan go to lunch.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean all these were
because
honorably
it
mentioned.
sets the tone. I mean, the opening sets the tone, but this is really the scene that kind of informed the rest of the movie, especially for the shoot of the movie, according to the actors and everyone involved. So for that reason, it seems pretty important. I will pick it. This is also one that I quote. You know, those are rookie numbers. We're going to need you to bump those up. I quote that quite a lot.
Yeah.
Worst scenes and moments. Walker, I tried to pick some. I tried. I couldn't. There wasn't a scene that really stood out to me as being bad, or a
Yeah,
moment
me.
that stood out to me as being bad. Like there's moments that characters do certain things that I'm like, oh, I hate it. But it's like that's kind of the point. You're not supposed to like these people.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
felt the same way. I watched it and I was trying to basically like I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was just waiting for like what am I not gonna like about this movie this time? Very, very little, if anything. I mean, I'd say the one scene that kind of made me raise my eyebrows in terms of a storytelling was what we just talked about. I said I would come back to it in a minute. The plane explosion outside the Italian rescue boat it
mhm.
felt like I guess it's just a huge thing that was very interesting that happened that they weren't going to dive too deep into and just kind of like let that just real quick happen. It just felt watching it in the movie, it just felt kind of like
It's very
okay.
Scorsese in The Departed,
Hmm.
like the rat walking across the rail.
Yeah.
I can,
It yeah,
yeah,
it just kind of felt like rushed and thrown in there like last minute as like this thing and it felt overly convenient. I mean, obviously it's not the way it really happened, but it was just hard. I just don't know if it. I don't know. It didn't impact me much. Like the plane exploding, it didn't make me feel like I know he said like he has like a bit of dialogue after or narration afterwards where he says like if you want a sign from God and I don't know if he's talking about everything going on or that plane, but I don't know. I just I that was the only scene I had in my head. I don't know.
yeah.
But again,
It's
you're
one of
right.
those
There's not
rare
much.
movies. Yeah, this is one of those rare movies where it gets the no worst scenes and moments award. So, congrats to you. Best performance. This is going to be my hot take.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey.
That's a good take. That's a good take. I mean, he's obviously
Leo,
fantastic.
yeah, Leo crushes it in this movie. It's probably my favorite performance of his. Well, I think it's probably my second favorite. I love him as Jack in Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, that is like my fourth favorite movie of all time. So, but Matthew McConaughey, the reason again, I said it before, I'll say it again. The reason he won Best Actor is because of his performance in this movie. I'm not saying that he didn't earn it in Dallas Buyers Club. I think he definitely earned it in Dallas Buyers Club. Like I said earlier, he was my favorite performance of 2013. I would give him the slight edge over Leo, but I think the reason that he won Best Actor is because of his performance in this movie. It's one of those performances that if he were nominated just for this one scene, like Judi Dench was, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad. I can't argue with you. I think that's you make some good points, and he is awesome in it, and he steals the scene with Leo across from him. I'm gonna give it a Leo though for me. I mean it's gonna go with the chalk answer, and just I think this is I, I might be wrong. I'd have to really like analyze it, but this is one of the this is definitely one of if not my favorite Leo performance out there. It's
No,
high.
you'll get no argument from me there. None. Does this make sense award? How did Kevin not hear the guys laughing in the background?
I thought the same thing when I was watching it.
Yeah, when they're on the
I,
phone and he's doing the script reading.
Yeah, they just snickered a little too much. Like one little like snicker and him like shut up, shut up, shut up, and then it being over. But they like borderline laughed at some parts.
At everything. Yeah, and
It's
the
like
antics that Leo's doing is really funny. You know, the
yeah, yeah,
pulling down the pants and
yeah,
so funny. Yeah.
yeah. That felt the same thing though.
Where's all the people at the hotel during the lemon scene?
So at the country club, I this
Yeah.
I
Or the
started to
country
say
club.
this earlier and said I would come back to it later. I saw that you wrote this down before I finished the movie, and so I paid attention to that, and I rewatched it again to like get. I'm my answer is going to be that it was intentional because when he walks in there's there's people everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's people walking out, there's people walking out in front of him, there's people walking out behind him, there's probably somebody at the front desk, and within like him going from speaking English to speaking lewds, um, like the shot going from him to is it? I get Mad Max and Bo confused a lot in this movie. Back when I first saw it, I wasn't even sure if it was two different people. His lawyer and his dad and his PI. I would go back and
Yeah.
forth on them a couple times. They had similar looks to him when I was younger. Whenever he's on the phone and they're like, you, what are you high? And then it switches back to him. All those people, they're there in one cut and then they're gone in the next cut. And I think it's just him. Like
Okay.
he's gone. And then like, his mentality when he drives the car home is wrong, and I'm thinking he just thinks he's there by right. There could just be people staring at him, like roll down these steps and shit. Like, what are you doing, man? That's what I'm buying into. Like, it was just intentional, and that he was just isolated in a weird spot zone.
I think, you know what, I can buy that. It was intentional, that unreliable narrator type of thing with the, "Oh, I drove home fine. Nothing happened." And then like,
Yeah,
That's not what happened." Yeah, I can buy that.
yes.
I will buy that, Walker. That is
Yeah.
a good explanation.
My vote's gonna go to the Kevin because when I was watching it, I noticed first I was like, that was a little too loud, guys. They're gonna hear him,
Yeah.
and they're
They're gonna
already duping this poor bastard on the phone and making him just treating him with no respect, and then everyone's just laughing at him. It's like, man, you can't let him hear that.
yeah. MVP of the movie. And I will agree with you, by the way, on does this make sense? That is the
Yeah.
default answer for me. MVP, who you got?
Uh, there's a couple people here. I mean, it's for me, it's gonna be between Marty, Leo, and want to mention Margot Robbie just for just going toe to toe with Leo,
Yeah.
nailing the role and jump
Nailing it.
starting her
Yeah.
career, making her she was an instant superstar from this movie. So I really want her to get
Inst-
credit where it's due.
like completely instant. Yeah.
And then Leo, I mean, I've kind of got chills talking about it a little bit. Leo's fantastic. Just for the sake of giving everybody their due, I took Leo in best performance. I'm gonna go Marty for MVP. I think the story it wraps up so nicely. It's told so well. It is chained together so great. The way and Leo's narration lends a great bit to the storytelling. I think I love the fourth wall break occasionally. I just think it's told in this odd linear pat like where they start foreshadow then go back. I just think it's put together so well. I've been a bit of a curmudgeon lately on long movie times. I've never been like that way before. That's kind of a recent thing for me that I've started to feel. Maybe it might just be that in the last year I've been watching so many more movies to me than I normally do, and there's an aspect of it that's become with a hint of work involved with it. So I'm just feeling the length of movies more, which isn't fair to the creators or anything. But just lately, I've been a little bit grumpier about it. But this movie, I want it to be longer. I love every second of this movie, and
There's
I
a
think it's
4 hour cut of it.
is it really?
They initially wanted this movie. The final cut was 4 hours, but they got an hour cut out of it. And Paramount initially wanted to do a 4 hour cut to come out, but they decided against it.
Oh, wow, cool.
Like all the DVD Blu-ray release, they just went with the theatrical. I would love to see that at some
Oh,
point.
too. I did buy the Blu-ray when it came out. I mean, when this movie came out, it
And
was my favorite movie. I
sitting
mean,
right over there. Yeah, it's a great movie. I think I'm going to go with Leo as MVP just so he can get his due because like I love his performance in this movie. I didn't give him best performance. I gave it to Matthew McConaughey for the reason I said, but he is so good in this. Like my god. Like just a transcendent performance. It is nothing short of excellent. This is again the movie I said it earlier that got him his Oscar. Even though he didn't win it this year, he was so good in this movie, and there was enough pushback to, like, what does Leo have to do to get an Oscar? That he did The Revenant and literally put himself through hell physically to get an Oscar.
yeah,
And he rightfully won that Academy Award, but I also think that this performance and him not winning boosted his chances of winning that Oscar, which he rightfully won because he was
sure.
fantastic in Revenant. I absolutely love The Revenant too. I know it's not a movie that I don't think it gets talked about as much these days, but that's a really good movie.
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, and I think that's just some way the cookie crumbles. You know, sometimes you have movies that it just people give lifetime performances on certain years, and they just happen to be another year that someone else gave a slightly better one. Some people are top five heavyweights in the state, and they just happen to be in the same region as four of the other ones. You know, it just kind of it's tough sometimes, and you just get the bad end of the
is,
stick, and you can't.
is that going to happen this year with Robert Downey Jr.?
Like, yeah, there's I don't know,
It's a tough
or
supporting actor. Or who?
I mean, or I mean Robert De Niro, or I mean there's a I mean whoever
Ryan
wins,
Gosling.
someone's
Ryan
gonna
Gosling
feel.
as Ken.
Yeah.
Or your boy from May December. I'm forgetting his name, but he was so good in
Oh, the young guy, the
that. Yeah,
Charles. I can't remember his name either. The Riverdale guy.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's good. Yeah, and there's
I
so many
mean,
performances that just aren't going to get nominated either.
mhm. It's
You know,
always
I've
heartbreaking.
talked so much about Jonathan Majors and Creed. I mean, he's not going to get nominated probably for several reasons, but he wouldn't have gotten
No,
nominated anyway. But like that was a great. I mean, I really, really, really love that performance. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's just the way it goes, and I don't mind like. I mean, as long as they feel earned, like Leo's did, I don't mind these like retribute, like retro. You know what I'm saying? And I think maybe
yeah,
it gives Revenant a bad rep, and that's unfortunate because it is a good film, and but
really
people are
good
like,
movie.
well, you're only giving it to him because he should have won it. So it like it almost like it comes off in this like negative connotation. It's like no. I mean, he gave an Oscar winning performance.
Yeah,
I mean, there is some of that truth to that, and it may have been. I don't know. I don't remember chosen. I don't remember all the nominees or whatever, but
from that
I'm not saying there's
year,
no truth to
it
it.
was a two-person race. It was between him and Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs.
Okay,
Or
that was a great
was it
performance
Steve
too.
Jobs or was it just Jobs? I think it was Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs is Ashton Kutcher. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so I mean, it's I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying.
yeah. Be, but at the end of the day, Walker, why would you recommend this movie?
I mean, I think it's the fact that you sent 35 best scenes to try to get it down to 10 and couldn't do it. There are so many good scenes in this movie, top to bottom performances. I mean, we've got Matthew McConaughey in the movie for 5 minutes stealing the show. We've got bit characters that are up and coming, television actors that are doing great. Leo, Margot Robbie, the launch of a superstar, an a
Freaking
Oscar
Jonah
winning,
Hill.
yeah, Jonah Hill. Everything,
So good in this.
yeah. Martin
A new
Scorsese
shoe day.
ties this. Martin Scorsese ties the scene together with just a string of incredible scenes, and tells this story in this cohesive, exhilarating way, and it would put the edgiest of us. It can make so many people blush. I mean, it's it's a wild ride from start to finish, and it's just an all time movie. I mean, I if anyone tells you it's overhyped, don't listen. Watch this movie; it's a blast.
Yeah. Listen, man, I could not have said it better. So I will second everything you just said for why I would recommend this movie.
Well, that's been fun. I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, man, that is it for this week. And next week we'll be back with something more festive.
Oh, it's exciting. Well, thank you all again so much for listening. If you're hearing this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe for more movie talk each week. But let us know below what did you think of Wolf of Wall Street? I can't believe it's 10 years old. But with that
Blows my
said,
mind.
this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.